All right, guys, we're here to talk week 2 must starts if you want to win this week in fantasy. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We're talking to week 2 starts. First, we're going to get into some news and notes. Of course, today, the big news, CMC is going on IR. He will miss the next 4 games at least. This looks like it's going to be an ongoing issue. Hopefully you guys went and grabbed somebody like a Jordan Mason or in your draft, maybe picked up a viable backup. Looks like this is going to hurt a lot of people, especially guys who are picking number 1. I know in a couple of my leagues I picked early, I did end up with CMC myself. I was lucky enough to get Jordan Mason later in the draft just because I was concerned a lot with this soft tissue injury that was going on. Kind of funny how this works out. They said in the preseason he's good to go for week 1. Happens early. He's going to be just fine. That news broke late, according to most people, except for Jordan Mason, who apparently knew a little earlier than most. But this news is going to be heartbreaking for a lot of people who are CMC owners looking to go deep in leagues. You're pretty much losing out on your number 1 pick for 5 weeks. That's a huge hit. Of course, Tua, another injured player, Thursday night did not look good. If you watch me on First and Mad, I'm on there every Thursday. Please don't hesitate to join the show. We go live every Thursday at 7 o'clock, live from Mad Maddie's here in Las Vegas. We were there during the game. Saw the Tua hit. Didn't look good. I mean, the hit wasn't a big hit, but the way Tua went down and out, it's not looking good for the Miami Dolphins. So, Tyreek Hill owners, I'm one of them in one of my leagues. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be tough. Jalen, Waddle, Tyreek Hill could be an issue. Devon Achane could take some steps back. I don't know what's in the works. Hopefully, they're looking at maybe picking up a veteran quarterback. I know Ryan Tannehill has been mentioned on the market, looking to sign him. Hopefully that gets done. Maybe they can get there because Skylar Thompson's probably not going to get it done with this offense. Today, it was also reported that A.J. Brown was feeling some tightness in his hamstring. They will continue to monitor that. No news. We'll keep you updated. Hopefully, if you got to play somebody else, looks like Devontae Smith could have a day. I wouldn't be shocked if they held A.J. Brown out of this game with the hamstring. Don't want a hamstring to get worse. It gets any worse than just slight tightness. That could be an ongoing problem for the rest of the season. So I look for the Philadelphia Eagles to play this safe, maybe sit them out this week. All right, we're going to get into our starts for the week and a lot of guys who probably want to sit. Now, I know everybody's looking at it. Who should we start? I'm not going to get into those guys you drafted early because if you're dragging those big hitters, I'm not going to mention it. Hey, this is more, who can I stream? Who am I looking to place in those spots where flex options, guys that may be out, who can I play instead to maximize this week? We're going to start with the running back position. Najee Harris should be a decent play this week to play in Denver. As you saw last week, Denver is not big against the run. In fact, if you look at last year's stats, they gave up the 3rd most points of fantasy running backs. It looks like that trend could continue, especially with somebody like Najee Harris and a better offensive line that Pittsburgh has. Look for Justin Fields maybe to have a big day, especially with his running ability. That could be a start you want to play. If you're in a tight pickle, especially with the CMC issue, if you have one of those, you may want to look that route. That could be a nice pickup. Najee Harris could be available easily for a trade for nothing, or you can probably pick him up. Who knows? But that should be a decent play this week. Titans backfield. Really like the Titans backfield this week. I know Tony Pollard saw most of the carries last week. Coach came out, said he didn't like the usage of Tyjae Spears, and that would be corrected. They want to get him more involved, get the young playmaker on the field. They are playing the Jets. Everybody goes, oh, that's a great defense. They were bad against the run last year, and it looks like they're going to be bad against the run this year as well. They gave up the 7th most fantasy points for running backs last year, despite being such a stellar defense. Their shutdown corners are great. Their secondary is awesome. You don't want to throw the ball against them. Look for the ground game to really open up. I like the Titans backfield. Either one of them could work. I think this is going to be more of a 50-50 splits. Close to that, and Tyjae Spears probably going to get the receptions over Tony Pollard. J.K. Dobbins, hopefully you hit the waiver wire. Looks like everybody thought Gus Edwards was going to be the starter. It looks like J.K. Dobbins could be the man there in L.A. They are playing Carolina this week. Gave up the 6th most fantasy points to running backs last season. That team hasn't gotten much better. Offensively, they should be on the sideline a lot with a lot of 3 and outs. This team looks pretty rough. Look for J.K. Dobbins to have a nice game this week. Gus Edwards, I wouldn't sleep on either, but I think J.K. is going to be the main guy there with the Chargers. Guys, I'm looking to try to avoid this week due to defensive matchups. James Conner is one of them. He is playing the Rams. They were the second best against the run last year. Yes, no Aaron Donald. Still early in the season to tell. Tough matchup last week. Hard to get a sense of where that running defense is at, especially when you're playing two top-tier running backs like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I probably want to stay away. He didn't look great last week against Buffalo. If you have to play him, listen, he will get you some points, hopefully in the passing game. It doesn't look like Kyler Murray and his offense like to use the outside receivers. Hopefully, James Conner can get you some points in the passing game. Alvin Kamara is a person I want to stay away from. I think the game's just going to get negative, and Dallas is middle of the pack against the running backs in fantasy. And the game script could be bad where they're going to have to play catch-up. Derek Carr, never good in this situation. He's not targeting Chris Olave. It's a very interesting offense. I don't think they're going to have to hit those big plays. I think the pass rush is going to be too much for Derek Carr. Remember, he doesn't do well under pressure. You could see Kamara get some checkdowns, but I'm out on Alvin Kamara this week. Lions backfield. Surprisingly enough, I'm out on Lions backfield. They're playing Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay with third best defense against running backs in fantasy last year. Looks like that defense is still pretty solid from what I saw against Washington. Yes, they gave up some rushing yards to the quarterback, gave them TDs, some running, but I think they get it together here, and I think this could be a tough time for the running backs against Tampa Bay. I do like the receivers, though. I think maybe the passing game maybe opened up a little bit. I would stay away from the Detroit Lions backfield. Wide receivers I want to play this week. Mike Evans, just mentioned this matchup. Detroit, terrible against fantasy wide receivers. Gave up the third most points to fantasy wideouts last season. Don't think they really got any better as far as in their secondary. Of course, they do have a great running defense, so look for them to stop there, but they will air it out. I like Mike Evans. Mike Evans should be a great play, especially if they look for him in the red zone. Baker Mayfield looks like he's throwing the ball with confidence. This could be another big week for him. Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, of course, with CMC being out, you saw the usage go up with him, especially in the run game last week. I think that continues now that CMC is on IR. Minnesota did give up the fifth most fantasy wideouts last season. It's hard to tell how this team is going to proceed. They should be playing from behind with a negative game script. It could be interesting, but I like Deebo, especially in the running game. I think he's a good player at the wideout position. He should get you some points, especially with no CMC in the mix. Next, I like Malik Neighbors of the Giants. They're playing the Commanders, who gave up the second most wideouts last year in fantasy. Doesn't look like that defense got any better. Look for them to hyper-target Malik Neighbors, especially with Daniel Jones, knowing that his back is up against the corner and he has to perform. Look for him to target his go-to guy and his playmaker and Malik Neighbors and see if they can get something happen. I think he has a great week this week. Wide receivers I'm not looking to play. Brian Thomas Jr. I know he had a good week one. Looks like he could get momentum, but they are playing the Cleveland Browns this week. They were the fourth best against wideouts in fantasy last year, and their defense looks good as well this year. They single-handedly kept them in the game, even though that wasn't much of a game against Dallas. They were the only thing going for them because Cleveland's offense looked terrible. Chris Olave, I mentioned him early. Derek Carr does not like to target Chris Olave for some reason. They love to use him as a blocking guy in the run game. They don't like to target him. Only 2 targets last week. I'm wary on Chris Olave. Have been all year. He was kind of on my do not draft list. Chris Olave could have a tough time, especially against Dallas's defense. He's going to go up against Diggs. That's who's going to match up against him. Diggs is a great corner. I think Olave has another rough week. In fantasy, I would stay away. Next, Jamar Chase. They're playing Kansas City, who was second best against wideouts last year in fantasy. And he opened his mouth to talk some trash this week, talking how they are the team to beat in the AFC. I think Kansas City will have something to say about that. And look for them to really eliminate Jamar Chase from the game. And traditionally, the Bengals always start the seasons off slow. Some reason they just can never get it together. Look for it to be another off week for Jamar Chase. If you can play somebody else in his stead, please do. I think it's going to be a rough one for him this week. Now getting into our onesie position. One guy I like at tight end this week that you can stream is Cole Kmet. They're playing Houston, who gave up the 6th most fantasy points last season. Looks like Houston's still going to be able to give up some passing to the tight end. Look for Cole Kmet to have a good day, especially with Caleb Williams really struggling last week. Maybe he gets friendly with the tight end. Rookies love to throw the ball to tight ends, an easier route, shorter route. Maybe he uses that to his advantage this week to get some momentum going for the future. Look for Cole Kmet to have a decent day if you need somebody to start at tight end. One tight end I definitely want to stay away from, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram playing against Cleveland's defense. That defense is tough. They were the second best against tight ends last season. With also that offense struggling in the passing game last week, I think Evan Ingram is a no-go for week 2. At the QB position, 2 guys I really like. Kirk Cousins to make a bounce back. It should be a negative game script with against Philadelphia, who can put up some points. They have some playmakers. And Philly's defense is not that great against the pass, giving up the second most to fantasy quarterbacks last season. The game script alone should keep Kirk Cousins in there to get passing yards, and hopefully maybe they can electrify something with that offense. I know he looked a little hobbled, didn't look like he had much of his stuff. Maybe in week 2 he feels a little bit better, maybe it gets loose, and hopefully Kirk Cousins comes through for you. Next one, Matt Stafford with the Rams. They're playing Arizona. That should be enough said. Arizona has no defense. Okay, they gave up the 5th most fantasy quarterbacks last year. I don't think they're going to be any better this year. I think defensively they're going to struggle. Look for Matt Stafford to pick them apart. Cooper Kupp should be hyper-targeted and played in every league. And Kyron Williams should have a massive, massive day because they really do struggle against running backs. QBs I'm kind of avoiding. Trevor Lawrence, as I spoke before, they're playing against Cleveland. Great defense. They didn't have it all together last week in the passing game. I don't see it getting any better against a better team. Look for Trevor Lawrence on your bench and keep him there. And then, of course, Derek Carr. I mentioned that already. Dallas' defense, 7th best against fantasy QBs last season. I think that defense is hungry. Micah Parsons, also now he's trying to be the next guy to get paid. He's going to put some tape out there. Look for the Dallas defense to really put the pass rush on and this team to be playing from behind. Look for the Saints to struggle in this game, and especially a Derek Carr. He, does not deal with pass rush very well. Well, anyway, guys, like I said, join me every Tuesday. I usually have one of the Vegas guys on here with me for the podcast. It's usually a little longer show, but join me on Tuesdays for a breakdown of the past week's games, waiver wire pickups, and some injury news and updates. Then look for me and First and Mad. We have a live feed on Facebook and on YouTube. That's Mad Maddie's podcast every Thursday at 7 p.m. We go live on that show. Follow us there if you want some more insights in sports, in the football. And also, I do my starts of the week on Friday, Saturday, whenever I can squeeze in the time to get the video published. But I try to get it out at the latest on Saturday, try to get it out on Friday. So, guys, hopefully you have some luck, and hopefully you got these guys on your roster and you're able to play them and have a great fantasy week. Remember, follow me on Instagram, Vegas Guy J, or here on YouTube at VGLR 2022. Until next time, guys, we'll see you in the next one.